Got a good video for you guys. Today I'm going to be hopping into my MLB team tier list. And this isn't going to be any regular old team tier list. I'm basically going to be ranking all of these teams based off of how much I like them. So pretty simple concept here. Now let's hop right into the video. All right, so first up here we have the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've been a fan of the Diamondbacks for a little while now. They're obviously not my favorite team, but I definitely am a big fan of them. Next up I have the Los Angeles Angels. Pretty fun team to watch right now with Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon, the way they're playing too. Over the years, I've kind of been neutral on them, though I'm really not a fan of them, but I also don't hate them. Philadelphia Phillies. I like them a lot more now that they have Bryce Harper, but over the years, I would say I'm sort of between neutral and big fan. I'm not a big fan of them, but I think I do like them a little bit, but I'll just toss them in the neutral section. Baltimore Orioles, another team that I'm pretty neutral on. I don't have too much hate towards them at all, and I don't really like them. So yeah, neutral. Next up, we have the San Francisco Giants. I'm not gonna lie, they're one of my least favorite teams in all of baseball. I've just never really liked them ever since they had Bumgarner or Posey. Great players, definitely. Like, they won a couple World Series rings, but I've just never really been a big fan of the San Francisco Giants. New York Mets, another team that I really don't like. I'm just not a big fan of them. I know they're wicked talented and they're having a great year this year. Take nothing away from them, but I'm just not a big fan of them, and I never really have been. Boston Red Sox, being from Massachusetts, I obviously like them. I'm not really a big fan of them, but I also am obviously not neutral on them because I grew up watching them, so I'll throw them in the big fan category for right now. Atlanta Braves. They're another team that I'm kind of neutral on. I don't really hate them, but I also don't like them too much. Tampa Bay Rays. I'm a pretty big fan of them. I've loved the way they've played the game over the years. I love the way how they just don't spend money and they seem to compete year in and year out. I just love the way they play the game. So I'm definitely a big fan of them. Miami Marlins. This one's tough. I want to put them in a neutral category, but I guess just to fill out this section here, I'm really not the biggest fan of them. I don't hate them at all, but I just really don't like them per se. So I'll toss them in that category. St. Louis Cardinals. I'm also not too big of a fan of the Cardinals. They are a really good team, I'm not going to lie. But I've just nothing really about them has stood out to me as a fan. I really just don't see anything special about them. So obviously they're a great team, but I'm personally not too big of a fan. Oakland A's, I'm definitely a big fan of them. I've always been a fan of them because they play the game similar to the Tampa Bay Rays. They don't spend too much money and they usually seem to compete year in and year out. Obviously trading away their best players, they're not competing this year, but I definitely do like them and I'm a big fan. LA Dodgers, they are definitely one of my least favorite teams. Not because I don't like their players, but simply because of their success. For those who don't know, a little spoiler here, I'm a big Rockies fan. They're my favorite team. And being in the same division as LA just leads me to not like them because year in and year out, they're just always beating down on the Rockies and winning the National League West, and I just want to change. So I really don't hate the Dodgers players or anything like that. I just hate their success. Milwaukee Brewers. I'm pretty neutral on them. I like Christian Yelich. I like Corbin Burnes in their starting rotation, but they definitely don't stand out to me. New York Yankees. I'm not too big of a fan of them. I don't hate them as much as a lot of people do, but obviously I don't like them being a big market team that spends a ton of money, and obviously a lot of people don't like their fans, and I'm the same way, so not too big of a fan of the Yankees. Pittsburgh Pirates. Pretty neutral on them as well. I don't have too much hate or love for them. They're kind of right in the middle. Seattle Mariners. I'm definitely a big fan of the Mariners. I've loved them ever since they had King Felix. They were my second favorite team always, behind my favorite team, the Rockies. So I've always loved Seattle because of King Felix. Chicago White Sox. I like them, but I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of them, so I'll put them right towards the front of the neutral category. They're kind of right there with the Phillies and the top of the neutral category because I like both of them, but I don't love them. Chicago Cubs. They're one of my least favorite teams. I don't like them. I never have. I really didn't like the team with Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez. They were talented. They won a World Series ring. But I've just never been a real big fan of the Chicago Cubs in general. Houston Astros. I would say I'm pretty neutral on them. I guess you could put them in the not a big fan category because they cheated, but I mean, people seem to be hanging that over their heads too much. That was years and years ago, and I really don't hold that over them at this point. So I definitely don't love them, but I'm not going to put any extra added hate on them because they cheated. I mean, that was 5 years ago. I think it's time to get over that. Cleveland Guardians. Another team that I'm pretty neutral on. I don't have too much feelings for them. They're a fun team to watch with Jose Ramirez, and their starting rotation is supposed to be good, but it's not like too great this year. But I always sort of liked Cleveland because they're such a small market and they've found ways to win and make the postseason over the past decade. So I do like them, but I'm not really a big fan of them. I'll put them towards the front of the neutral category as well. San Diego Padres. I would be a big fan of them if they weren't in the NL West. I love Tatis. I like Machado. They're wicked, exciting, fun team to watch. I just can't put them in the big fan category because, I mean, I mostly like them because of Tatis and their jerseys. I love their jersey setup. It looks great to me, but I'm just not a big fan of them, but I'm pretty close to it. Kansas City Royals, pretty neutral on them as well. I like Bobby Witt Jr. They have some young talent on the way, but I really don't hate or love them. Texas Rangers, same thing here. Kind of always been neutral with them. I've never hated or liked them. So yeah, not too much to say there. Detroit Tigers, again, pretty neutral on them. They were pretty fun to watch in the early 2010s, and they're pretty bad right now, honestly. Like, they were expected to take a big leap forward, and they just haven't done that so far. I think they're the second worst team in baseball, only ahead of the Cincinnati Reds. But anyways, I've never really been a big fan of them, and I never have. Toronto Blue Jays, another neutral team. As you can see, I'm pretty neutral on a lot of teams here. I don't really hate or love too many teams. I try not to hate too many teams because I just don't want to be like a big hater, but Blue Jays, I really think they have a lot of young talent. They're a powerhouse in my opinion. I've been on the record stating that they are going to be very good this year, and I was big on them last year. Unfortunately, they just missed out on the postseason, so I kind of root for them in the sense that I hope I'm right when I'm making my predictions that they're going to be very good, but I really don't love them. Colorado Rockies, as I've said before in this video, they're my favorite team. Rockies are my favorite team because of Carlos Gonzalez. I used to watch him back in the day, and his swing was the prettiest in all of baseball. I loved watching him. Troy Tulowitzki. Who else was there? A young Nolan Arenado. There was just a lot of players that I used to watch on Colorado. Mainly Carlos Gonzalez is the number one reason why I like the Rockies. And ever since then, it's just kind of stuck. Obviously, being a Rockies fan right now isn't the most fun thing in the world, but I'm going to stick with them. You know, I'm a Rocky fan. I'm not going to switch it, so they're definitely my number one team. It's the Rockies and then everyone else, pretty much. Minnesota Twins. Pretty neutral on them as well. I love Byron Buxton. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's super exciting, and he's MVP caliber when he's healthy. I don't really love or hate them though, so pretty neutral on them. Nationals, neutral as well. I don't really hate them. I love Juan Soto, however, he's a supreme talent. Like, it just stinks to see him on the Nationals because they're so bad right now, but I mean, he did get his World Series ring a couple years back, so can't be too big of a deal. Cincinnati Reds. You know, I'm close to putting them, I'm not a big fan of them by any means, but they're not like the rest of these neutral teams. I think those first four teams right there are the teams that I think are kind of in between big fan and neutral. I like them a little bit more than the rest of the neutral teams, so Cincinnati Reds, I've always kind of liked them, but I really don't think they're one of my favorite teams. And also real quick, I wanted to show you guys just a couple of the hats that I have because these are pretty much my favorite teams. Obviously we have the Padres hat, the Rockies, the Mariners, the A's, and I'm wearing the Diamondbacks one right now, and also the Tampa Bay Rays, and lastly, the Cincinnati Reds. All right, so there you have my MLB team tier list. Also, be sure to drop a comment. Let me know who your favorite teams and even least favorite teams are. I'm curious to see who you guys like or hate. As always, if you guys do enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to continue to post a lot more baseball videos here as we go further into 2022. And lastly, I want to thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.